Hi there, it's Kevin with Gone War Games. So we are back here doing pre-orders for Spider-Man and Last Airbender, and I was talking over Discord and other people about the direction of Magic, I guess, because Last Airbender's product line is a little bit confusing, and I thought I'd just hurry and get the video and record my thoughts before they evaporate, and I can, kind of push this out here to the YouTube so what people think about this too. So, Final Fantasy has had this incredible reception. And of course, people lost their minds. It's holding super strong. And it has set a new precedent for Magic the Gathering, which I think is actually very dangerous. So let's back up here and let's just kind of follow my train of thought where I was going here. Because I was trying to mull this over of like, what is the greatest time period of Magic the Gathering? Is it now? Is it Final Fantasy with record sales being broken? And I thought back when there was the most energy throughout since I've been doing this, since I've been playing since Revised. So I went to local game stores as a kid. There were a couple moments during college, different little spurts that I actually played competitively with Magic the Gathering. And then I really got into Magic the Gathering around like Return to Ravnica era, when I was, more positioned in life and bored and that's, I think, that's typical for most people. So anyway, going back to where I think if I could pinpoint one set where I think that Magic, like the absolute pinnacle of Magic the Gathering, and I decided it was Modern Magic 2013. It was that Las Vegas tournament for the introduction of Modern Masters when they released the first Modern Master sets. And we went from, and as I was discussing this, it was like, Magic was something at that time period that if you played the game, if you were familiar with the game, there was definitely a cult following for Magic. There were diehard people that played Magic. But it was very typical for Magic to stay very stagnant all the way from, Revised Edition all the way to about that time period where Magic would have about the same couple million player base. And then they really went hard on Modern. And I think that it added just so much energy during that time period that Magic went from a in-the-know type game to an actual serious, like, top of the market trading card game that was just, they really planted it down here, and it just took off. And the energy was something else that, of course, competitive cards went nuts. We saw like a buyout of Tarmogoyf that very weekend where up to that point, if a card got reprinted, you'd expect that the cost of a card would go down. And actually the reprint of Tarmogoyf led to people like opening up a Tarmogoyf and be like, oh, I want to play a set of these now. Now I have one of them. Now I'm going to actually build a Modern deck with Tarmogoyfs, and I need all four of them. And it actually shot the price up of Tarmogoyf up from like $35 up to like $300. It was nuts. And the energy was just something else. And I think that's what I've been missing, like what it was. I couldn't put my finger on what is so different about where we are at with Magic the Gathering. And I was looking over, like I said, this product line, and it's just crazy how far Magic has now swung from that sort of energy of we're going to make products for our player, like our base, the people that are actually enfranchised in the game, to now with I'm looking at Spider-Man Last Airbender, I'm like, who are these products for? Like, who in the world are they coming up with? So anyway, let's just go into this right now, and I'm actually I'm losing my mind over some of these product lines. So Last Airbender is going to have Jumpstart, which is an entry-level product. It's going to have Beginner Boxes, which is an entry-level product. And then Spider-Man's going to have welcome, like these welcome decks. They're really pushing these welcome decks. And this just boggles my mind where Wizards is like, what are they thinking with this product? Like, this just seems to be a big product. So anyway, let's explain welcome decks here. So here's our beginner boxes from Foundations. So they came out with these Foundation welcome decks and beginner boxes to introduce people into a game, which I think is exactly what you want to be doing. So this is a welcome deck. A welcome deck just looks like this. They give them out to WPM stores. You're supposed to just give them out for free. They sometimes will do events. You just give them out to new players. It'll help you teach them. They get a little deck. There's nothing of value, so they purposely do that because they don't want them to be, just sold on the secondary market. And, that's that. And it makes sense, of course, for Magic the Gathering to have a welcome deck that is their IP and their product. So Spider-Man just makes absolutely no sense. So this is going to be, they're going to make a welcome deck. It's going to be like, welcome, we're going to introduce you to Magic Spider-Man, what are we? What game are we? So again, this isn't a video that I'm just going to rag on Universes Beyond, because Final Fantasy, of course, was a huge success, and it does send a signal that crossover things are here to stay, they're profitable, and there's actually a lot of demand for them, and they can actually energize a player base. And I'm not against any of that. I think that you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Like if it makes more people play Magic the Gathering, then that is a plus. But they need to be very, very careful with these type of things, because we've seen games like this in the past also fail when trying to stretch too thin and lose their identity in the process. And I've whined and whined about Magic the Gathering, the hat sets, over and over, where like Tarkir and Foundations were absolute knockout of the parks. They sold really well, but it's still very hard to find Tarkir or Foundations at distribution level. Whenever it is in stock, it sells. I think that the market price of both of those sets kind of gives a little bit of a missignal of how popular those sets are, because both of those did above and beyond what people thought they were going to do. The spoilers were underwhelming for both of them, and then the cards started coming out, and there was a huge reception because of just they felt like Magic sets, and they sold really, really well. And the other hat sets, though, even Dustmourne, that has just one of the best power levels, has still kind of struggled compared to like Tarkir, and I think the Edge of Eternities is also going to kind of go that route. That possibly they can go on this. It's just getting very frustrating that this is the way that Wizards is trying to sell their product, is on these, like, really hanging on these factors that are beyond like the gameplay or the set design. So Edge of Eternities, I think, is starting to go nuts because of Shocklands and because of Eldrazi's and Slivers and ultra collectible cards that people have to add to their collection. But it's not really, the focus point isn't really on the actual set. It's not like people aren't excited about this spaceship set or characters in the spaceship set, or and again, the energy was so different. When we used to have the 3-block sets, like, people would really get into the kind of the build-up of each one of these block sets, and it was each year it was the same thing. It was released, you know, you had your fall set was your big set, the introduction to the new block, and you have a smaller set in the winter, and then a set that put it all together in the spring, and then you'd get your core set in the summer that just added needed pieces for competitive play. And that's how it was for years and years and years, and it worked. And it was able to, I think, fill all the needs that a game needed to kind of have this continuity and, you know, keep the player base on kind of the same track of where their game was going. And of course, Modern Masters 2013 is, as I stated, the pinnacle of when I think the Magic energy was just through the roof, because they introduced this product, this like a greatest hits of Magic, and it really just hit home to where people are like, oh yeah, they created like this new format to then play these greatest hits. And again, there's this different type of energy that I'm seeing right now, to where that the product was focused on the enfranchised players rather than even worrying about getting new players into Magic the Gathering. And then the same thing, when they released 2013, there was an entire Grand Prix Las Vegas, which was ultra successful with the release of Modern Masters. And we saw record turnout and record sales and record thing for the time. And it might just be, you know, dismal compared to today's numbers, but it's kind of sad that where that is shifted now from that sort of philosophy of really making sure you take care of your core to now just, like, I don't know, looking for the cheap bucks or looking for the cheap ways to get into, you know, get new players to actually buy your product, or it's like, oh, I'm the Last Airbender fan, I've heard Magic the Gathering. And again, I want to step back and say, if it gets people into Magic, great, but this is making me nervous, because I think that Final Fantasy is actually more of a one-off than it is something that is sustainable. Because we look at like Assassin's Creed or Fallout or even Warhammer, like, all of them are kind of doing well now, but as the time of their release, it was like, did it really get people into Magic that had a lot of Assassin's Creed or a lot of Fallout or a lot of like Warhammer players? I mean, there always will be crossovers in these nerd hobbies, and people that play both the games will want to collect those. But when we shift gears to when, with those products, they were just like, you know, they were just little supplemental products. They weren't the main focal theme. And as I stated, when you're going now from Foundations, we had beginner boxes. I don't know if I mentioned that. Beginner boxes are going to be, the next beginner box is going to be Last Airbender. Last Airbender is going to have beginner boxes for Magic the Gathering. Your first exposure to Magic the Gathering, yeah, I get it. If you are a Last Airbender fan, you want to get exposed to it, but it's almost like Wizards of the Coast has kind of given up, and they've realized their mechanics are just the thing that keeps Magic alive. And now they're just going to kind of skin it. Like it's almost like you know what's happened with like Monopoly or some of these like old school games. It's like, well, our game, we can't really innovate on this game anymore, so we got to skin it. We got to skin it. We got to skin it. That's how people are going to want to actually continue to buy our products, is if we put something pop culture on it. And so I am not convinced. I am not convinced that this is something that is sustainable. That is something that's going to keep people energized and can keep people going forward. And especially when they can't serve their enfranchised players with products that I think are going to keep all of them. I think that Wizard Coast is getting extremely lucky. Like, they have a great design team right now that's been, in my opinion, knocking it out of the park with some of these card designs like Commander, Standard. Those things are in pretty good place compared to how they were of yesteryears. And they still have the best mechanics of any game by far. And it's like Magic the Gathering is definitely hit pop culture. You know, people know about it. Most people have played the game. And I know that that's their strategy too, is just kind of try to revitalize people, remind them about the game, but then adding these like pop culture sets that then people can get back into Magic and play more. And it just seems like a balancing act to me that now the pendulum is going to start swinging way too far the other end, and we don't even know what that is going to cause in the long run. Whether it'll just be nostalgia burnout of like, oh great, here's another, like, or just people just like really wanting some sort of core Magic to return back into it. And it's just so puzzling with after two knockout of the park sets like Foundations or Tarkir, where Wizards just doesn't like have faith in their own product to where, you know, you think they'd be doing it. I know that a few other content creators have posted better videos than this, explaining their feelings about it, that I can just reiterate with them, that it's fine every now and again, but at what point though do you stop just becoming Magic the Gathering? You just, to me, it's just beginner box. That's just giving up. Welcome decks now that are Spider-Man welcome decks. That's just giving up. So anyway, that's kind of my store thoughts for today, as you see us kind of organized here at the store. Crazy time that we are in, to where this is going to be the norm now of everything going forward. Is just, you know, everything being skinned to the latest. Yeah, I don't know. What do they have left? That's in my comment section. It's like, what IP, though, can they actually milk on that can actually get this sort of excitement with... and also, I'm definitely interested in the comment section if people did live through, because I got this little zoomer here. Talmadge working back there. But I was trying to pick his brain about, you know, what was the most energetic time of Magic the Gathering, and he wasn't even around for 2013. And I wish that people that didn't experience that could have just experienced the absolute energy at that convention at Grand Prix Las Vegas in 2013, where we went from like, they couldn't handle it. No one knew that at that point there was just like open registration, like anyone could come. And they were so short-staffed on judges. They were so short-staffed on vendors. The entire convention was just packed, and it blew everyone's expectations of where. And then after that too was the same thing. We saw Magic the Gathering pre-releases again. You had to kind of be in. You had to be part of the really enfranchised players to even know about pre-releases in local game stores, and it just took off. There were game stores that popped up everywhere, but it was in my opinion a lot more healthy growth that was based upon actual, you know, enjoying the game. And the pre-release parties started happening. Like all these things existed before then. I'm not trying to say that this, you know, that Magic from Revised all the way up to this was pretty dark and gloomy and no one knew about Magic, because there definitely was people that, like myself and my friends, that did know about things, that did play and did look forward to pre-releases. I remember attending a convention in Salt Lake. There's a convention center for one of the reasons of I think Guild Pact, and it was packed clear back then too. They used to do these pre-releases where they would do like a regional, like only one vendor store would get like this like pre-release, and then other people could do it like a little bit later, and so that big convention would be massive. But yeah, it's just baffling to see where we've come with how Wizards is kind of marketing and directing their product lines to go to whereas I stated, it's like it's definitely more focused on trying to get these, what I can't even call kind of clickbait buys. Is the problem I had with the game I reference a lot, like Hero Clicks, or there was a game that's called Dice Masters. They actually exists in like this board game that they thought, oh, this made a great little collectible card game. They started with Marvel, with Dice Masters, and they're like, okay, let's just keep branching off. This is a hit. People like this. Let's keep branching off. And they started doing things like WWE and Dungeons and Dragons and all these things. And instead of like, again, the continuity of the game fell to where it was just like, okay, what other pop culture icon can we hurry and throw in to get this clickbait sales? And I don't know. To me, though, I know there's a lot of comparisons going on with Pokemon and Magic now. I just do not see Magic being able to replicate what Pokemon has done with the collectability. I still think that Magic the Gathering is primarily a utility-driven game, meaning the people that are buying cards to play with the cards, rather than the phenomenon which is Pokemon that the vast majority of people actually collect and put cards in binders and the whole conventions of trading. Like that is the energy of Pokemon. And I'm not trying to say there isn't gameplay that happens with Pokemon. It comes and goes. It's kind of funny with Pokemon. I think that the most vibrant time during Pokemon was actually pretty recently, during the early era of Scarlet and Violet, where the collectors were completely absent and the games were actually incredibly vibrant. There were a lot of people actually playing the game compared to collecting. But obviously that wasn't good for Pokemon. It didn't have, like, everything was rotting at distribution level. So I understand the temptation by Wizards of the Coast to go down this route. I am just not convinced that it is replicable for Final Fantasy set after set after set. And I still think the best indicator of the future is the past. And we haven't seen this before with some of the other universes beyonds. It hasn't got this amount of energy and amount of people playing or focused on the game and buying cards. So I'd like to know your comments and comments below where you think it's going. I got a lot of times I get a lot of Debbie Downers. Universes Beyond is here to stay. It's knocked it out of the park with both Lord of the Rings now and Final Fantasy, so they're definitely going to keep going this route. But it'll be interesting to see exactly how far this game can continue to go if they're just going to bank on other IPs for the excitement. So hopefully they can find some sort of happy medium and bring things back. But yeah. To close this out, I think this is a disaster. I think beginner boxes, like things that are intro-level products, should never be outside your IP. Those things should be reserved for more of the collectible aspects of the game. Final Fantasy we were wondering how it would fare being a standard set. So far, it's been okay. I mean, that's why the Lord of the Rings with going into more modern. The other ones were in Commander. They didn't want to really encroach on their core of the game. And it's definitely been received okay for standard, but still at this point, Final Fantasy is mostly driven by the collectability of the cards at the moment, not necessarily the utility. And so, yeah, I don't know. I personally don't want to see Magic the Gathering go more into the route of Pokemon. I don't want it to be treated as an asset class and have some article written about slabs of Pokemon being your retirement, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like I will still argue until I'm blue in the face with people that is a very, very risky investment, because trends come and go, and as robust as you think that something is, it can be a snap of fingers where culture can change, and all of a sudden cardboard is no longer something that people care to collect, and all you have at that point is utility. And I think that Pokemon without the actual game would have died long ago. There would have been other things that would have come and replaced it. I mean, there have been other collectible, like I remember when Pokemon, they didn't really like their card frames, they didn't really like the I don't know, maybe the contracts they had with whoever produces Pokemon USA or whatever side contracts, and they actually tried to come out with a collectible card, not a game, just basically trading cards that didn't have a game attached to it, and they were ultra shiny. And this was like, I don't know, 2010s, or it was even more recently that when they came out with an entire, didn't even Topps or something like that try to produce Pokemon cards. I remember it was some big brand and would have them at the big box stores, and people were supposed to trade and collect them, and there wasn't any focus on play, and it didn't fare very well. So having a game that gives more use beyond just the putting in a binder and looking at it or putting in a slab, I think is vital. So very, very crazy times we're in. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Thanks for watching.